Hello and welcome to Zero Cool Gaming and this week's game review. Today we are going to be reviewing Super Neptunia RPG. It's an interesting game to say the least, and there are several issues that I would like to discuss here. It'll be a cursory review and I will most likely end up doing a news topic on this later. But let's get into it. Let's go ahead and start with a couple of reviews. I love the reviews on this game. Seems like this is another one of those games everyone hated. By this point, in 2019, I had already realized there was a huge problem with games. I had realized that a lot of games had been infected with agenda and propaganda. As a result, I didn't want to purchase any games. But what I discovered is that most of the games that the reviewers hate are actually pretty decent games. And that's where we're at today. Gotta love it. So, first we have a review here by Nathan Lee. Nathan Lee is a blatant liar, and we're going to take a look and see why. As the Neptunia train moves along, it has been various. Excuse me? Let's try that again. As the Neptunia train moves along, it has made various pit stops along the way. Outside of the main titles, the series has experimented with multiple genres and multiple studios. However, when news came out that the next Neptunia would not only be 2D, but also made by a Canadian studio, it got me wondering, how would a Western studio handle such a franchise? Well, Artisan Studios are huge, and they have fans of the series. So, working with Compile Heart and Idea Factory must have been an exciting experience for them. After months of delays, missing the project launch date twice, and reports from Japan that the game felt rushed, I was a bit apprehensive, as I am a Neptunia fan. I still needed to play the game and see for myself. In the end, what I found was a game that reminded me of the first Neptunia, and that's not a good thing. So the man says he's a fan, yet there are at least two games, just according to his own words right here, that he hated. I'm willing to bet that if I looked up his reviews of all of these games, every one of them are going to be a horrible review of them. But hey, don't let that fact get in the way of your lies. Let's go ahead and move on. After watching trailers for Super Neptunia RPG, I didn't quite know what to expect when it came to its gameplay. However, I was still excited to play it considering I'm a fan of Neptunia. Now that I have, I'm quite impressed with its blend of gameplay styles. You basically traverse large areas as if you're playing a Metroidvania game, then fight enemies in a very traditional JRPG battle system. As you progress, you'll earn more field abilities, such as being able to summon different people. No, I guess that's a monster. To jump higher, mid-air dash move, and the classic double jump. Going back to previous stages in order to collect new reachable treasures completes quests. And hunt certain powerful monsters is great fun. It all comes together to make an enjoyable and rewarding journey. This is a different gentleman that wrote that, and everything below that is just hate. So we're going to skip all of that. Super Neptunia RPG. This is a new review. Is a new spin-off take developed by a completely different studio than the usual core staff Idea Factory. What sold me on the game initially was the visual design and how the game was presented. Reminded me of my favorite RPGs, and it reminded me of the PS1 era, like Valkyrie Profile. Generally, it's characterized by having a dungeon exploration done in a platform style and combat based on traditional RPGs, except that they're occurring in real time. And everything beyond that is hate. Let's move on to another review. In the past, RPG gamer staff spent an evening discussing the games that Compel Heart and Idea Factory have produced. The consensus was that often these games have decent battle mechanics, but the gameplay is often buried beneath a near insurmountable wall of text. That rarely is important to the story development. Ironically, with this being the first 2D Neptunia game, and co-developed by a Canadian company, Super Neptunia RPG suffers from almost the exact opposite problem. Battles are a slog due to certain design mechanics, and a persistent lack of text hampers many aspects of what otherwise would be a refreshingly different Neptunia experience. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. It wouldn't have mattered how they made this game, it was going to get horrible reviews from these people. The reality is that I had no problem with the game. I've never been a fan of fan service in the first place, so it doesn't bother me that it's not there. I didn't buy the game for that purpose. I actually got the game because I wanted to kind of get an understanding of what this censorship was and how it works. And now we get into the sticky part, let's call it. Is this game censored? That is both a yes and a no. The game was developed. It had things in it that the United States government or agency that, runs this stuff decided was inappropriate, so they censored all of that out of the game. The problem is that they then went to their store and created purchasable downloads so that you could put all the things that were censored out of the game back into it. So my question to you guys is this censorship or predatory monetization? Who knows? Now we're going to get into the Msrb rating on this game. Okay, Msrb ratings are supposed to be something kind of like the movies. You got stuff for kids, you got stuff for older kids, then you got stuff for even older kids, and then you got stuff for adults, and then you got porn. Pretty simple. Everything that's rated R is for 18 plus. Well, with video games, you have stuff for children, stuff for older kids, and stuff for older kids again, and then you have the ESRB rating of M, which is 17 plus. What's my problem with this rating is that there's nothing in between that and A, which is porn. They have no rated R section. And I know people are going to try to say, well, M is rated R. No, it is not, people. M is 17 plus. It includes children the age of 17 for a reason. With children being included in this rating bracket, it gives these agencies the legal right to censor all video games because, according to them, all video games are made for children unless they are rated A, which designates them as porn. There is no rated R equivalent in video game ratings. Period. That's a problem. That needs to be fixed. it would be nice if people would pay attention to this stuff so that we could put an end to this censorship. And especially when the censorship isn't even censorship anymore, it's just another form of predatory monetization. It serves no purpose. You're not protecting the children with this stuff if you're just going to sell the censorship back to them for more money. I'm not going to pay for it. That's for darn sure. But regardless, there's people who absolutely will. And I get that. They shouldn't be allowed to censor it out in the first place. There should be a rating for adults that is not porn. This game would not be considered porn even with the stuff they removed. But because it's made for children, they had a legal right to remove all of it. So, what is my view of this game? It's not the best Metroidvania game I've ever played. It's not the best RPG I've ever played. And it doesn't have the best storyline. Is it enjoyable? Sure. I had no problem getting through the game. There was more than enough within the storyline to tell you where you needed to go and how to get there. It was relatively an easy game. The first time I played through it, it took me about 10-15 hours to fully understand the mechanics. And that was my fault because I wasn't reading the tutorials fully. I was kind of clicking through it, you know what I mean? And as a result, it took me 10 hours to figure out exactly how the mechanics really worked. But other than that, yeah, it's a decent game. It's pretty fun. I actually played through it like once all the way through and then about halfway through again. Just because I wanted to see a couple of things that I missed. But not a bad game. I've never played any other Super Neptunia game. Like I said, I've never been a fan of fan service, so fan service games aren't really my thing. But this one, it wasn't bad. It was pretty decent. And I truly don't understand why the hate for this series is so extreme. But that's my game review for the day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of yours.